everybody. Hope you're all healthy and safe at home. We are going to move on to the next section of our module 4. That is section 18.2, Cauchy-Gusar theorem. Okay, so in this section basically we'll be dealing with the particular theorem and how we can apply this theorem to find the integral of a function, complex function. So in the previous section we had done various problems relating the same, right, to how to find the integral of a complex function and how we can evaluate it by substituting the value of z in the given function and so on. So in this section we'll be basically dealing with this particular theorem. But before moving to it, we must understand the following few terms which is related to the domains, that is simply and multiply connected domains. So there are two types of domains that we have to deal with in the case of complex variables. So first is about simply connected domain, that is a domain D is said to be simply connected if every simple closed contour C lying entirely in D can be shrunk to a point without leaving D. Okay, so keep a picture of it in your mind. You have a domain D, okay, a region, and you have a small contour in it. Contour is just, don't get so confused with that complicated word or something. It's just you have a path in it, okay, and it is closed. So you have a closed curve. So instead of a curve, we are going to call it as a contour. So we have a simple closed contour. Okay, simple means it is not intersecting anywhere else. That is, we don't have any twists and curves in the particular curve. So if that contour is lying entirely in the domain, and the condition for that domain to be simply connected is that however we shrink the particular contour, okay, however small we shrink the contour, it must lie again entirely in D, in that domain itself. That is, it must not go outside the domain. Okay, so I hope you're getting the point. Now there is another way of explaining it, that is, in other words, in a simply connected domain, every simple closed contour lying entirely within it encloses only points of the domain D. Okay, so that is that contour is lying inside D, and inside that contour forms the boundary of another region which is only consisting of points which are in D. That is, it will not contain any other point which is not in D. Okay, and expressed yet in another way, this must be much more familiar for us or easy for us to understand. That is, a simple connected domain has no holes in it. Okay, so if you take a piece of paper, that is a simple connected domain, and if I put many holes in it, that will not be simply connected, because if I draw a small contour very close as the boundary of that particular hole, if I shrink it, it won't. If I shrink it, we cannot say that whenever in whatever way we shrink it, the points will lie exactly in D, because there is a possibility that after I shrink it, the contour will become inside the hole. Right, so it will contain no point of the domain. So basically, a simply connected domain can be treated as a domain which has no holes in it. And so what will be multiply connected domain? A domain which is not simply connected. Okay, so this is, I think that would be much more easier for you guys to understand the concept of domain of simply connectedness and multiple connectedness. So just if we just look at the figure which is given in your textbook, you can make it much more clearer. So just look at the figure 18.2.1a. This is a simply connected domain because I am considering this curve, okay, or this contour. So in whatever way I shrink it, it will again contain the points in the domain itself. Okay, also, or it has no holes in it. And whereas the B1 figure B, it has many holes in it, right? So this is multiply connected domain. Okay, so that is what is about the simply connected domain and multiply connected domain. So with this concept in our mind, we shall move on to our Cauchy-Gusar theorem. So basically Cauchy had introduced this theorem first. Okay, Cauchy stated that if the function is analytic in a simply connected domain and the function f dash, that's the derivative of the given function, is continuous, then for every simple closed contour C, integral over C f of z dz is 0. Okay, this was Cauchy's theorem. That is, Cauchy stated that we are given a function and we are given a simply connected domain and a simple closed curve. There is a simply connected domain, there is a simple closed curve, and we are given a function which is analytic. Okay, suppose that function is analytic and its derivative is continuous, then the integral over C f of z dz is equal to 0. That integral is actually 0, so it makes us pretty much easy to calculate the integral of a complex function, right? If we just have to check whether the given domain is simply connected, that is, it has no holes in it, and if the contour is simple, and if the function is analytic, then the integral, we don't have to calculate anything, we just can use the theorem and write that it is equal to 0. Now Gorso was another mathematician, and what he did was he modified Cauchy's theorem, and he was able to prove that the condition for the continuity of the derivative of the given function is not actually necessary. Okay, and that's how Cauchy-Goursat theorem came into existence. That was, the statement is as follows: suppose a function f is analytic in a simply connected domain, then for every simple closed contour C in that domain, integral over C f of z dz is equal to 0. Okay, so I hope the theorem is clear. It is very simple. It is just stating that the integral of that particular function will be 0 if the function is analytic, given the domain is simple, closed, and the domain is simply connected, and the curve is, or the contour is, simply closed contour. So we shall deal with a few examples, and we shall make this concept a bit more clearer. So let's see the first example. Example 1, we are asked to evaluate integral over C e raised to z dz, where C is the curve shown in figure 18.2.2. So you can see the figure 18.2.2, clearly it is simply closed, right? There is no problem in that. And now if you see, the domain is also clear. Now e raised to z, we all know that exponential function is entire everywhere, so the function is analytic and the contour is simply closed, so the integral will be equal to 0 by Cauchy-Goursat theorem. So the integral over C e raised to z dz is 0. Okay, now next example, evaluate integral over C dz by z square, where C is the ellipse x minus 2 whole square plus y minus 5 whole raised to 5 by 4 plus 1. Okay, so we are given the contour. Contour is an ellipse. Now we are asked to evaluate dz by z square. So here f of z is 1 by z square. Now, is this function analytic everywhere? This function is actually analytic everywhere except for z is equal to 0, right? So for z is equal to 0, the function is not analytic. But just see whether z equal to 0 is a point in this. That is, how can we check that? We just have to put x is 0 and y is 0 and just see. That is minus 2 square plus minus 5 square by 4. That is never going to be equal to 1, right? Clearly. So z equal to 0 is not a point in our given contour. Okay, so it is not there in that interior or on the contour. It is not present inside the contour, neither on the contour. So this particular function is analytic everywhere in this contour, because the only point where the function is not analytic is z is 0, and that point is not inside the contour. So the function is analytic everywhere inside the contour. So the integral will be 0 by Cauchy-Goursat theorem. Okay, so in the first example we had seen that the function is analytic everywhere. The second example, the function is analytic, but it has points where the function does not satisfy the condition of analyticity. But in that case also, corresponding to the contour, corresponding to the region which we have given, that particular point where the function is not analytic is not in the region. So we can say that the function is analytic everywhere. Okay. So we just have to verify, we just have to check two things. One is that the function is analytic everywhere or not, and that depends actually on the contour which is given to us. Okay. Now let's move on to the next example. We are given flow f of z is equal to cos z bar, that is cos z conjugate. We are asked to compute the circulation and the net flux. We know circulation and net flux is actually integral over c f of z conjugate dz. Right, we had seen in the last question of the previous section that that is a definition, that is actually we have to calculate circulation is the real part of that integral and net flux is the imaginary part. So here we have to verify the integral of f of z bar dz, that is we have to compute that and we have to determine what is the value of the what is the real part and imaginary part of that integral. Now we are given the contour is actually the square with vertices z is equal to 1, z is I, z is minus I, z is minus 1. So you can see in figure 18.2.3 the contour is shown. This is a particular contour. Okay, this is our contour and our function is what? Cos z modulus conjugate. Now cos z is clearly analytic everywhere, right? So if that is analytic everywhere, that function is analytic everywhere, so integral over c conjugate of f of z bar will be conjugate of cos z, right? So that is cos z. So function is actually, we have to evaluate integral over c cos z dz over the given contour. Now cos z is analytic everywhere means the function integral value is will be equal to 0 by Cauchy-Gursa theorem. So I hope it is clear, right? Now next what we are going to do is we are going to introduce a concept about Cauchy-Gursa theorem. Actually in the statement of Cauchy-Gursa theorem there was a mention about the simple connectedness of our domain, but we can apply Cauchy-Gursa theorem for multiply connected domains also. Okay, so let's just see how we can do that. In this case, let's see, I'll explain it with the figure. We are given the figure, just look at figure 18.2.4. okay, in figure A you can see there is a domain D, okay, and we have one contour C and another C1. Okay, now this domain has a hole in it, so it is not actually applicable. The Cauchy-Gursa theorem is not actually applicable here, but what we are going to do is we are just going to modify this curve. How? I'm going to take a point A and A in the contour C and B in the contour C1. Okay, and I'm just going to put a cut over here. So if I just put a cut over here, that is I'm just going to break it and I'm just going to join it. Just gonna put a cut over here, then what will happen? I can get a contour of this form, right? I'm going from A like this and like this and like this. So this contour does not contain this hole. Why? Because it is containing this particular region, right? It is not containing this region. So in that case we can apply Cauchy-Gursa theorem again, right? There will be no problem. Or now if you see that this integral from A to B and from B to A will be actually the same except for the change in the sign. Okay, so integral from A to B is actually integral over C f of z dz. The integral from B to A is integral over C1 f of z dz. So the sum of those both integral values are equal but have opposite signs, so the sum of them will be equal to 0. So to evaluate this integral over C, it is I can write integral over C f of z dz is equal to integral over C1 f of z dz. How can that be possible? Because here if you see the orientation, C is having our counterclockwise orientation and the curve C1 is having our clockwise orientation. So integral over C f of z dz will be actually minus of integral over C1 f of z dz. So minus of C1, if we can write it as, it is not actually C1, it is minus C1, right? I hope I'm not confusing you guys. Here if you see in figure A, both C and C1 are in the counterclockwise direction. Okay, they are favorable to us. Now when we consider B, when we put a hole in it, and I'm considering this whole curve as a single contour, you can see that the integral, if you see over C, the contour C is in the positive orientation and B will be in the negative orientation because it is in the clockwise direction. So actually basically they have the opposite sign, so integral over C f of z dz plus integral over C1 f of z dz will be equal to 0. Okay, that means from this what do we get? Integral over C f of z dz is equal to minus of integral over minus C1 f of z dz. So that is nothing but integral over C1 f of z dz. Okay, because in the next case we are applying it as and the curve C1 we are considering it to be moving in the clockwise direction, then only we can get this equation. So I hope the concept is clear. So basically the thing is to find the integral of a complex function over a contour which is given to us, which is a bit complicated. It is enough if we form a small contour which is favorable to us inside that particular contour, okay, and just evaluate it over that integral. Just find the integral of f of z along that curve. Okay, so the concept will be more clear if I do this example for you people. Just look at example 4. We are asked to evaluate dz by z minus I, where C is the contour given in the figure 18.2.5. Can you see the contour C? It is like we are moving from here, from minus 2 plus 4i to minus 2, then from minus 2 to minus 2i, to minus 2i to 2 minus 2i, 2 minus 2i to 2 plus 3i, 2 plus 3i to 4i, and again back to 4i to minus 2 plus 4i. So this is our contour. Okay, so it is a pretty much complicated contour. How can we find? If we use a normal integration form, then we have to consider this as C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. So that will be much complicated. So instead of that, what we are going to do is, I'm going to take a small circle inside which lies entirely inside the contour C of radius 1 and center I. Okay, so this will particularly or clearly lie inside the given contour. Alright, so now what happens is, now let me see how we can calculate. So by our note, or by what we discussed just now, integral over C dz by z minus I can be written as integral over C1 dz by z minus I. Right, so let's see how we can evaluate integral over C1 dz by z minus I. Now C1 is a circle. Now we know the parametric form of that circle, z would be equal to some e raised to it in that form. So here it is, we have C1 is a circle, mod z minus I is equal to 1. Okay, so the parameterization can be written as z is equal to I plus e raised to it. Or that is how z is equal to I plus e raised to it, where t varies from 0 to 2 pi. So from this what do we get? Z minus I will be e raised to it. And what is dz? Dz will be derivative, that is dz will be a derivative of I is 0 and derivative of e raised to it will be I into e raised to it dt. Okay, so this is easy to calculate. That is integral over C1 dz by z minus I will be from 0 to 2 pi, integral 0 to 2 pi. Dz is I into e raised to it divided by z minus I is e raised to it into dt. So while I integrate this, I get this as I is common, so I from 0 to 2 pi, so the value is 2 pi I. So integral over C dz by z minus I is equal to 2 pi I. Okay, so in this case, if you see, if I choose this function, if I have the function f of z is equal to 1 by z minus I, this function is analytic everywhere in the given contour except at the point I, right? Okay, so what I do is, around that I, around the point where the function is not analytic, I am forming a circle. I am forming a region which is comfortable for me. Okay, so that is basically what we do. Along the points where the function is not analytic, we will form different contours and we will find the integral, and that will give the integral of that particular function along that contour. Okay, this result can be mostly generalized. If you see equation 4, we have integral over c dz by z minus z dot raised to n equal to 2 pi I when n is equal to 1 and it is 0 at all other integers. Okay. Now why is it 0? If we have any, in case n is 0 or any other negative integers, what happens is when z minus z dot raised to minus n, right? So that will become in the numerator. So that is basically we are asked to find the integral of a polynomial function. Now polynomial functions are entire everywhere. So by Cauchy-Gaussian theorem we can say that integral over that polynomial function or that function will be equal to 0. So that's how 0 has come. Now the positive case, I would like you guys to just verify it as it is given as an exercise problem. You just guys can work it out. Just put your brains on it. So just remember this, that is integral over c dz by z minus z dot raised to n equal to 2 pi I when n is equal to 1 and it is 0 when n is not equal to 1, any other integer which is not equal to 1. Okay. Now the point z dot will be actually the point where the function that is given in your book, I mean in your question, and that will be actually the point which will be the points where the function is not analytic. So the concept will be clear if you do this problem. Okay, example 5. Now we are asked to evaluate integral 5z plus z plus 7 whole divided by z square plus 2z minus 3 dz. And the contour given is the circle of center 2 and radius 2. Okay. Now the contour is clear to us. Now we have to see whether this function is analytic everywhere or not in the given contour. So for that, the function, this numerator is a polynomial and denominator is a polynomial. So polynomial is entire everywhere, but the denominator, if we have any points which becomes 0, so for that we'll factorize this denominator. So that is as z square plus 2z minus 3 can be written as z minus 1 into z plus 3. Okay, so here z is equal to 1 and z is equal to minus 3 are 2 points where the function will not be analytic, because at that points the denominator is 0 and we don't deal with functions having denominator 0. Okay, so now let's see, z is equal to 1 and z is equal to minus 3 are points where the function fails to be analytic. Now does z equal to 1 lie in the circle given to us? That is, imagine a circle which is at center 2 and has radius 2. So clearly z is equal to 1 is a point in that. And is z is equal to minus 3 a point in it? No. Why? Z is equal to minus 3 will be lying outside the contour C. Okay, you guys can just draw the circle. It is simple, center minus center at 2 and radius 2. Okay, so in that case 1 is a point which is inside the circle and z is equal to minus 3 is a point which is outside the circle. Okay, now next what we do is we will use partial fraction to separate this in the form such that z minus 1 and z plus 3, that is it is in a comfortable zone, that is dz by z minus z dot raised to n something in that form. So for that we are using partial fraction. So I would recommend you guys to just go through the process of partial fraction which you have learned in your high school and all, and just keep that in mind how to do that. Okay, so that is we have 5z plus 7 by z square plus 2z minus 3 will be equal to 3 divided by z minus 1 plus 2 divided by z plus 3. So the integral of this will be equal to 3 into integral of dz by z minus 1 plus 2 into integral over dz by z plus 3. Now if I consider the second portion, this z plus 3 is actually analytic everywhere in the given region, because z is equal to minus 3 is the only point where the function fails to be analytic and z is equal to minus 3 is not inside this circle. So this integral will be 0. Why? Because the function is analytic everywhere in the given domain. So by Cauchy-Gaussian theorem this integral is 0. Now what will be this value? This is of the form dz by z minus z dot raised to n, where n is 1. So when n is 1, this integral will be equal to 2 pi I. So the value is 3 into 2 pi I plus 2 into 0, which is 6 pi I. So how easily we were able to calculate the integral of such a complex function with the help of Cauchy-Gaussian theorem. Okay. So with this concept in our mind, we shall move on to the portion of Cauchy-Gaussian theorem, which is applicable for multiply connected domains. Okay, so let's just see the statement. It is, suppose C, C1, C2, etc. simple closed curve with a positive orientation such that C, C1, C2, etc. are interior, C1, C2, etc. Cn are interior to C, but the regions interior to each CK have no points in common. That is, they are completely isolated, they are separate, they are lying in different positions. Okay, they won't have any common points. Now, if f is analytic on each contour, the function is analytic on each contour and at each point interior to C but exterior to CK. Okay, then integral over C f of z dz is actually the summation of integral over C k f of z dz. That is, just now we had done with we are given a single contour, and to evaluate over that single contour we used a contour inside that region. So suppose a region, suppose we are given a domain and there are many, we are having many multiple points, like in the example just now we have seen, we had just had a single point, that z is equal to -1 is the only point where the function is not analytic, z is equal to 1 is the only point where the function is not analytic. But that may not be the case, there may be more than one point where the function is not analytic. So what we do is, at all those points we form another contour. Okay, and they will be completely separated. Then to find the integral, we just have to evaluate the integral over each contours, which is easy with the help of the formula that we have just now derived, and we just have to sum up them and we will get the integral over the given contour. Okay, so let's see an example which will help you understand it. So this is the figure. So if you have, we are given like D is the domain and C is the contour, and we have the points where the function is not analytic. Okay, what we do is we form a boundary of this, that is, the function is entire everywhere in the interior of C and exterior of C1. Okay, that is in this region, that is, this portion is not included. So in that case we can write integral over C f of z dz is equal to summation k equal to 1 to n integral over ck f of z dz. So let's just see how we can do this example. We are asked to evaluate integral over c dz by z square plus 1, where c is a circle mod z is equal to 3. So c, the contour of our contour in this example is a circle with center 0 and radius 3. Okay, so we have drawn the contour, we can see in figure 18.2.7, contour is given to us. Now let's check whether the function is analytic or not. What is the function? F of z is 1 by z square plus 1. Now where are the points? When we simplify z square plus 1, it can be written as z minus I into z plus I. Okay, z minus I into z plus I. So I and minus I are the 2 points where the function fails to be analytic. Now clearly these 2 points lie inside our contour, because our contour is a circle of radius 3 and centered at origin. So clearly I and minus I lies inside our contour. Okay, so what we do is we consider C1 about the center, a small contour with I as a center, and C2 another contour, that is a circle with minus I as center. Now again by partial fraction, so we are using partial fraction very often, we'll be doing it again and again, so we'll be thorough with that portion. So by partial fraction we have 1 by z square plus 1 is equal to 1 divided by 2i whole divided by z minus I minus 1 by 2i divided by z plus I. Okay, so the integral of c dz by z square plus 1 is nothing but 1 by 2i into integral over c 1 by z minus, I am taking 1 by 2i common, so integral over c 1 by z minus I minus 1 by z plus I. Now what will this value be? Integral over this c 1 by z minus I dz, that is of the form integral over c dz by z minus z dot raised to n. Here n is 1, so this value is 2 pi I and this value is also 2 pi I, so 2 pi I minus 2 pi I is 0. So the integral is actually 0. We don't have to go through all these stuff. So this integral is 2 pi I by our formula. This integral is also 2 pi I. So when we subtract these two, we get this as 0. So the integral over c dz by z square plus 1 is 0. So that is how we can apply Cauchy theorem for multiply connected domain. So basically what we have to do is we have to check whether the function is analytic everywhere or not. If function is analytic everywhere in the given contour, then the integral is 0. Now there may be cases where the function fails to be analytic at some points in the given contour. So what we do is at that points we form different contours, and using Cauchy-Grosart theorem for multiply connected domain, the integral over c will be equal to integral over c1 plus integral over c2 plus integral over c3, etc. Now to evaluate these individual integrals, integral over c1, either they will be 0 if the function is analytic everywhere, or there is a chance that the function has the value, it takes either two values, either 2 pi I or 0. Okay, mostly the power will be 1, and if the power is not 1, we have to check accordingly. Okay, so don't worry about the problems and all. We shall be dealing with more problems in our exercise, and we shall make the concept thorough with it. So that's it for today's session. Thank you. Stay home and stay safe.